Welcome to the channel. Today's story is about a man who had enough with his boring life and decided to make a change. But what he does is not what you would expect. The man's name was Jeffrey Jones. Yes, that was his actual name, but most people called him JJ, and you can see why. Jeffrey was an average guy living in middle America. He worked a job in a factory, but he was not happy. He went on like this for several years until one day he stumbled upon a book that gave him an idea. Jeffrey became obsessed with this book. He would read it over and over again. The book was called Into the Wild. It is a story about a young man who turns away from society and goes on an adventure hitchhiking his way to Alaska. Jeffrey was hooked. He knew that this was what he wanted to do. He would contemplate for weeks about how to tell his friends and his boss. He realized that there would be no good way to tell them, so he did something that was not the best idea. Jeffrey decides that he will tell no one. He comes up with a plan to leave on a Monday morning as if he was going to work, but instead he would drive, and drive, and drive. He would head north until he reached the Canada border, and from there he would go to Alaska. What he didn't expect was that his boss and his friends would notice he was not there, and they would report him missing. Jeffrey had left his phone behind so that they could not reach him, and he couldn't be tracked. He had taken out most of his money in cash, so he would not leave a trail. Because the police could see that Jeffrey had taken out all this cash from his bank right before he disappeared, they concluded that he must have left on purpose, and therefore they would not search for him, unless more evidence came out to show that something more serious had happened. His friends and family were obviously upset and very concerned. But the weeks went by, and no one heard anything from Jeffrey. Meanwhile in Alaska, Jeffrey Jones had arrived. He had been sleeping in his truck every night, and during the day he would go out and explore the natural beauty of Alaska. But Jeffrey began to grow lonely. He felt isolated. He started to miss his friends and even his job, the routine that he had grown so accustomed to. Eventually, after a few months, Jeffrey decided that he had been gone long enough. He decided it was time to head back home. He began the long journey, making his way south. He was very nervous the entire drive, thinking about how his friends and family would react to his sudden return. How would he explain his months-long absence? Jeffrey realized that he would have to be honest with them and hope for the best. When he made it back, he decided to show up at their door, and the first words out of his mouth would be, "I'm sorry." To Jeffrey's surprise, his friends and his family welcomed him with open arms. Although they had been very upset at his disappearance, they were just so grateful that he was alive and well and had returned. Jeffrey learned many lessons through this ordeal, and he also realized that he had taken for granted many of the aspects of his life that most overlook. His job did hire him back again, and he went on to live his life, but now with a grateful attitude that he got from his Alaska experience. What do you think about Jeffrey Jones' story? Was he selfish to leave without a trace? Was he just a man who needs some time away? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you for watching, and we will see you again soon.